You just pull up the slides. Okay, can everybody see the slides? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. We have a few things that we wanted to go over today. Really wanted to focus on the 1115 waiver, provide some updates on it. We do want to also see where everybody is at with their background about the waiver, so it gives us a better understanding on maybe we should elaborate more in certain areas or leave some information out. We definitely don't want to be duplicative if everybody is kind of aware where things are at. And then we'll leave the end for kind of discussion, next steps, what is, you know, the main purpose of us bringing this information and having this meeting. So for introductions, so Tom, if you could kind of lead through the introductions and call on everyone. And if everyone, when you introduce yourselves, we're just looking for your name, organization, and if you could just tell us if you have any information on the 1115 waiver, if you don't know what it is, so that we know where everybody is at.
Great. Thanks, Brianna. So we'll start with our team. I'm Tom Gabrielle, President and CEO of the United Way. Faith?
Faith Ann Butcher, Chief Impact Officer over at United Way. Lenny?
Winnie, yeah.
Hi, I'm Lenny Jacob, Chief Information Referral Officer at the 211.
Marissa?
Hi, everyone. Marissa O'Leary from Putnam Community Action Partnership, and I have very limited knowledge about the waiver.
Catherine?
Hi, I'm Kitty Weinkoop. I'm with TRA. We used to be known as West Fair Rides, and we know very little about the waiver.
Colleen?
Yes, hi. I'm Colleen Skelly. I am with TRA, and I am the outreach manager, and I am a licensed social worker. And I don't know very much about the 1115, but I'm looking forward to learning.
Corinna?
Hi, I'm Karina Pintor-Holloman, Regional Director for Catholic Charities Community Services in Westchester. I'm in our Yonkers office. I also know a little bit about the waiver.
Got it. And finally, Jess?
Hi, I'm Jess Bellinger with Family Services of Westchester, a care manager within the senior programs, and I'm not very familiar with the waiver.
Perfect. So it seems like everyone's kind of at the same place. So that's good. That'll be easy for us to kind of go through what the updates are. So I'll throw it over to Nicole.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicole Wilner. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at CBHS, and it's very nice to meet you all today.
And again, good morning, everyone. I'm Brianna Rodriguez. I'm the program manager for Hudson Valley Care. We provide health home case management services in the Hudson Valley. Our agencies are all the way from Ulster down to Westchester.
Let me just go back, Brianna. I'm sorry. I didn't describe what CBHS is, so I apologize. We are an IPA. Our footprint is the same footprint as HVC, the 7 counties of the Hudson Valley. And an IPA, if you don't know, is an independent practice association. So we are one entity that is made up of approximately 27 OMH, OASIS, OPWDD agencies within the Hudson Valley. So sorry about that.
Thanks, Nicole. No problem. Okay, so the 1115 waiver, just to give a background, so every so many years, it's usually around 5 years, 3 to 5 years, New York State will look at the programs that are offered through Medicaid, and they'll look at the services, see if there's anything that needs to be updated, if there is anything that needs to be changed. So we are currently in the process of New York State having a proposal for how Medicaid services in certain areas will look moving forward. So currently they're in the process of negotiations with the different components that will encompass the waiver. So that's looking at some different areas where they really want to focus on and change how services are currently being delivered. So the anticipated acceptance of this proposal is really any day now. They were saying fall of 2023. It could be tomorrow, it could be next week. We're not 100% sure. However, there are certain components of the waiver that we do know have been formally accepted. So we know that certain areas will be focused on where funding will be filtered through, and also where some workflows and changes will be around. After this proposal is accepted and after the state looks at whoever is applying for different positions, the waiver is expected to launch Q2 of 2024. So based on the applications that the state gets, they expect these programs to be up and running by Q2 of 2024. It is a lot of information that we have. If anyone has any questions at any point, please feel free to unmute yourself, put in the chat any questions that you have. We just want to make sure, since it is a lot of information, that we're not kind of just throwing all this at you without fully explaining if there's things that you're not understanding. So what is the goal of the 1115 waiver? So the goal is to achieve health equity, to reduce health disparities. The state really didn't want to have a District 2.0. So a lot of the focus this time around is on community-based organizations, making sure that you all are part of the conversation. As we know with District, it was very heavy on primary care and on hospital networks, but they're really trying to make sure that the social determinant aspects of healthcare are also included in these conversations. As we know, is very important to look at an individual holistically. So that's what the state is trying to do with some of the changes that the 1115 waiver is proposing. Does anyone have any questions? I don't know, Nicole, if you have anything to add. Oh, let me see.
Yes, transportation. We're going to get to, but transportation is included.
Yes. So as Nicole said, we'll get to some of the key areas. There are 4 key areas. Transportation is one of them. So on the screen right now are the components of the waiver. Everything that's in green has been accepted. Everything that's in red, the state felt that they didn't have enough time to kind of build out the infrastructure that would be needed in order to make those 2 components successful. So for example, if we're looking at targeted in-reach for criminal justice services, the state is determined to have services that focus in that area, but they know that the lift for the program would take longer than the 3 years that we're currently 2 years into our waiver. So the 3 years wouldn't be enough time for that program to really be up and running and to get the results to see if it's something that's impactful or not. So what the waiver is focusing on is stability, stabilizing the safety net and advancing accountability. This area is really focusing on hospital sector, strengthening the workforce. This is across the board. They didn't really give us much information so far on this. A lot of the talks around the waiver and the specifics have really been focused on the different areas. So transportation, nutrition, housing, case management. That's where a lot of our information has been gathered around. But we do have some information around what their ideas are for strengthening the workforce. As we know, it has been a struggle in healthcare in general, whether you're a community-based organization, a hospital, primary care, everyone is struggling with staff. So the state is trying to come up with some ways to help with retention, hopefully. Social care networks. So this is actually a big portion of the waiver. What a social care network is essentially, the state is looking at New York State in regions. So for example, Hudson Valley will be its own region. So from Ulster all the way down to Westchester, they will be looking at Hudson Valley as one region. And what the expectation of the waiver is to have one entity that will be the social care network per region. And the thought behind that is to help streamline workflows and processes. And it also makes it easier for the state to provide oversight. So that social care network will be responsible for helping with any billing when it comes to different Medicaid services that is covered under the waiver. It also is responsible for bringing together the actual network. So bringing together the community-based organizations, the hospital entities, primary care entities, bringing everyone together under their umbrella to provide services to the community. Primary care will also be something that is included. They are trying to take some components from district to kind of enhance, again, that holistic approach. And then the last piece is what we're calling a hero. So they're including what's called a health equity regional organization. Originally, the idea was for an organization to apply per region to oversee the social care networks. However, it was decided it makes more sense for the state to do this. So essentially, the state will be providing oversight and also ensuring that all of these social care networks are standardizing the way they do things. Everyone's kind of at the same level when it comes to workflows and everything else. Does anyone have any questions about that? Or again, Nicole, if I missed anything.
No, I think you did a great job, Brianna. I just wanted to note that the social care need, this is where CBH and the HVC is coming in. We're applying to be the SCN for the network. And that's where the CBOs and the relationships with everyone on this call comes into play, right? We're trying to build those county relationships and the community-based organization relationships with what we bring to the table and you bring to the table really would define the SCN.
Nicole, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the different meetings that we've had at the county level.
Oh, I could do that, Brianna, sure. So we started in the spring with an all county meeting. HVC and CBHS met with all 7 county governments and discussed the 1115 waiver, asked them their feelings on participation and being involved in the process and planning. And the counties were very receptive because in district, they didn't have a seat at the table. So we recognize that. We recognize how important it is for county government to be involved. So we started with an all county meeting. We did individual meetings with each county. We've done an all county meeting again. So we're continuing to build our relationships, identify gaps, work through the process. In the same breath, we want to do the same thing with the CBOs. So Stephen Pappas, who we've worked very closely with, he is the head of HVCCW and the CEO of United Way, right, in Rock. Is that I don't know if I have his title right,
but right. Yes.
United Way
in Rockland. Yes.
Okay. So we have worked years with him. And we recognized how important the CBOs are in this process. Without you, we do not have an SCN, right? We don't have a social care network if we don't have the community-based organizations. So we, HVC, CBHS, and the United Ways had an all-county meeting We are now going through the process of having individual meetings, and then we will bring everyone back together for an all-county meeting. And this will continue. So we're giving you a general overview, but our plan is to keep you involved in the process as we receive information. Very frustrating in some regards that we're still talking in theory, right? We still don't have that official 1115 document in our hands. The things we're presenting is what we've been informed, and it is, you know, it is fact for today, but often subject to change. But we want to keep the CBOs engaged. We want to keep you informed of what's going on. And obviously we want you to be involved. So that's where we're at with this.
Thank you, Nicole. Does anyone have any questions? Excuse me. About what we've done so far or the different components of the waiver? Again, we're really going to be focusing, I think for this group, it's going to be talking about the social care network and exactly what services that encompasses and what that means for the Hudson Valley region. So the hero, I explained it. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I can send the slide deck out to everybody. The purpose of the hero, and that's the role that the state is going to play, is really collecting data, looking at the different measures at the end of the 3 years, seeing, you know, has this waiver been successful in their eyes? Is it working in the way that the state intended? If not, using this to tweak any areas that they found deficient. But again, this is all going to be done at the state level. But all the services that we provide, that data will be sent up to the state. So that's what they will be overseeing. So population health and health equity. So again, it's really focusing on improving health equity with particular focuses when it comes to reducing health disparities. And there's certain areas that they're really looking at. So children, pregnant and postpartum individuals, and also high-risk adults. So a lot of the people that are you know, currently on Medicaid and receiving those services, they're really trying to focus on decreasing health disparities with this population. Now for the social care networks, so the particular areas that the state is really focusing on when it comes to funding and building this out are housing, nutrition, transportation, and case management. We've got some questions about case management. What is that going to encompass? As of today, we're not 100% sure. For example, HVC provides health home services. We were asked, will case management also bring in OPWDD programs? A lot of us know that OPWDD programs and health homes are essentially the same, so they're duplicative services. So would we have two different programs, but programs on this part of this network that provide the same services just for different populations? The state hasn't given us any information on exactly what under case management will be included. It might be left up to the social care networks, but we're not sure yet. But again, housing, nutrition, transportation, these are also areas that they're really focusing on. Does anyone have any question? Or Nicole, do you have something to add?
I was just going to say the standardized screening, we're going to go into it in the next slide. So there will be a standardized screening that could be completed by numerous entities. And the other, as Brianna said, the case management, we don't have a lot of information on it, but we do know that there is a concern of the duplicative case management services in all the different varieties, you know, the hospital, the MCO, the health home, that, there's case managers associated with so many different entities that they do want to look into streamlining it.
Thanks, Nicole. And also when it comes to nutrition, because we've been going over this presentation with multiple groups, it has been brought to our attention, a lot of food pantries don't collect personal information. So really trying to figure out and navigate how will that work moving forward, since this waiver is specifically attached to individuals with Medicaid. And since a lot of food pantries aren't in the business of collecting PHI, how will this change how services are currently delivered? The purpose behind collecting that information is for the food pantries to actually get paid for the service that they're providing from Medicaid. So we still don't have the answer to that, but it is something that we are looking for the answer to.
Okay, Brianna, there's a question. What is HRSN? Is it health related screening
Needs, health related screening needs.
Okay, I got so close and then I didn't know what N was. Okay, so it's health related screening needs.
Does anyone have any questions about the buckets? And we will talk a little bit more about the screening tool and what the expectations are around that. Okay. So screening essentially and referrals, we are in the process of thinking through how best to kind of standardize the screening process. At the current moment, the way the state has explained it, almost any and everyone will be able to do this screening tool, and it's expected that anyone that has a Medicaid individual that hasn't had the tool, the screening already done to do it. The problem is you could have one individual that is working with 5 different agencies. So how do we make sure it's not something that 5 different agencies are screening the same individual? So we're hoping when the proposal is put out that we have more answers on how that might happen. But at this current time, the state is saying anybody can screen. So managed care organizations, the social care, the lead entity, so HVC, CBHS, community-based organizations, yourselves, and also providers, so at hospitals and at primary care. So we don't know what the screening tool looks like, but essentially it will be a tool to help see if there's other areas of need for the individual. So if the individual is at food pantry, it might show that they need help with housing or case management. We don't have really more information than that, but there will be a screening measure that is expected to be provided somewhere along the lines. We're hoping that we would be able to, pick maybe one department or one agency, or have a better way to do it so that we're not all doing the same thing. So for the funds, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but essentially there's 2 different ways that the state is going to be distributing money. So one is going to be based on the services. So again, using nutrition as an example, if you have a food pantry and individual with Medicaid comes in and picks up a bag of food, you would put it into the platform that we plan on using, and we could talk about more than likely what that platform would be. Put that in the system, individual picked up the food, a claim would get sent, and then it would be paid by whatever insurance company that individual has. As the hopeful SCN, HVC, and CBHS, we would be responsible for making sure all of your claims are paid, and that they're paid in a timely manner. So if there's any issues with billing, it would be up to us to kind of step in and mitigate those problems. So that's the one line. So the services being delivered directly to the individual. And then the other line would be funds that the state plans on releasing to each regional SCN to help build out some of the network. They haven't given us too much information. It keeps changing on how that money is looking to be distributed. But overview and what everyone is saying is certain money will be allocated for helping any organizations that's part of the network. Let's say if it's a food pantry that has volunteers and their organization is strictly run by volunteers, what do they need to kind of get their this process streamlined so that they can participate and be part of the network. So that's the other way that funds will be distributed. So to helping make sure that anyone that is providing services and that wants to be part of the network is able to participate, regardless of what, you know, staffing looks like or what your organizational structure looks like. So strengthening the workforce, this again is something that they really haven't given us much information on. All we know is that the state is looking into career pathways and training programs. They're also looking into loan forgiveness. We did hear that the loan forgiveness looks to be more so targeting the hospitals and primary care. We're hoping that by the time the proposal's released that information has changed to include community-based organizations as well. That we won't know until, again, the RFA is released, unfortunately. And then workforce investment organizations. They haven't gone into any detail about what any of this might look like, really, aside from loan forgiveness. So this is what we're anticipating at least to see at the very minimum. Nicole, is there anything that I'm missing?
Nope, all good. Unfortunately, like I said, we don't have a ton of answers. So this is, you know, what we know to date. So nope, I think you're doing great. Thank you.
So ecosystems, so this is part of the work that we're doing with the social care network. But HVC and CBHS have actually started thinking about this before the actual components of the waiver were released. Regardless of if we actually get the SCN or not, we are committed to partnering with community-based organizations. And I don't think I had mentioned this in the beginning. So as Nicole said, we have to obviously apply to become the SCN. We're doing all of this work, you know, in hopes that our application is accepted. However, in the event that it's not, we are dedicated. Anybody that wants to be put in connection with whatever entity becomes the SCN, we're dedicated to also kind of bridging that gap and making sure anybody that wants to participate, regardless of if it's with HVC, CBHS, or another organization, that you're able to do so. But we've really focused, I would say, the last year on just having more communication with our community partners, different community organizations, to try to look at the Hudson Valley as a whole, but then also, as Nicole had mentioned, we've been having the individual county meetings, understanding that each county might have different needs. So making sure that we're having conversations, we're working through any sort of barriers that we're facing together, because it's really helpful when maybe one county is struggling in one area, but that's something that another county, you know, recently overcame and put a workflow in place. So we've really been trying to kind of bridge the communication at the regional level, but then also make sure that we are focusing on, you know, Westchester, nutrition issues or housing issues, and having meetings that specifically focus on, you know, what the needs are in each individual sector, so that it's easier for us to come together and see, you know, how can we provide even better services to our clients in the area.
The one thing I did want to add here is we're really committed to creating this ecosystem of care in the Hudson Valley. And we know that the 1115 kind of prompted these discussions, but HVC and CBHS want to be crystal clear that regardless of the waiver, that we want to continue this work and this partnership going forward, because we believe that it is a benefit to our communities within the Hudson Valley, and that we can do better work together than apart in silos. So, you know, the 1115 waiver might have been the catalyst, but with or without it, we want to continue to work together and create this ecosystem moving forward.
Yes. And both entities, both HVC and CBHS, it is a natural next step. Both of our organizations are made up of community-based organizations. So at HVC, our network is 24 care management agencies, and CBHS, it's the same, working with, you know, different organizations within the community for a common purpose. So naturally, this would be the next step to, again, as Nicole said, remove those silos, make sure that we're having communication, because as we know, one sector, you know, affects the next, and we share a lot of the same clients. So I'm not going to go too much into detail. We really just wanted to include this to kind of show what we're thinking for the network. We wanted to make sure, as I said, both of our networks individually are based up of community-based organizations. So we're really used to working collaboratively. So we wanted to show, one, that we've put a lot of thought into making sure that any organization that wants to be part of this social care network can be, but also making sure that if there's certain organizations that want to be part of, you know, decision making or more than just delivering services, that we're providing everyone an opportunity to have more of a stake in the social care network. So we're thinking about having you know, steering council. What's not on here, we're also thinking about having different coalitions. So for example, a food nutrition coalition, a housing coalition. So that would help bring up any sort of workflows that need to be implemented or any sort of barriers. We're able to, you know, talk about it as a group, and then any changes that need to be made within the network, we're able to kind of bring that up the chain of command. So really making sure that we're as collaborative with everybody as possible. We know we can't do this without you all. You're the ones providing the services. You're really the experts. We don't want it to be a situation where we're the social network and we're telling everybody what to do, but then things don't make sense because, again, we're not the ones that are working with the members on a daily basis.
Other thing I just wanted to add is that, and I believe Brianna touched on this a few slides ago, is with the CBOs, we do understand that there's different levels, right, of infrastructure. Some CBOs have the infrastructure to participate immediately, right? You have the technology, the workflows in place to be able to capture the information needed for billing. Others are really, you know, grassroots kind of organizations that probably don't have the infrastructure, really just based with, you know, or running on a volunteer basis. So we are, you know, being mindful of the different tiers of CBOs. So there might be, you know, the first group of participating may be that tier one with the infrastructure in place, but then we are going to be working with the CBOs to get the technology and the infrastructure in place to be able to participate and benefit from the the SCN. So I just wanted to put that in there. That's why when you see, I know this could be very confusing, but when you see the different levels of CBOs, that's what we're talking about, that we understand that not every CBO is going to be ready on day one to jump in and have the resources available to get the job done. But there is a process in place, that will be a process in place to get them on board.
Thanks, Nicole. And I do see a question in the chat to clarify HVC CBHS's role. So with the waiver, we plan on applying to be the social care network. So we are going to be the ones that are essentially the conveners for the Hudson Valley. That's what we're applying for. So we would have we don't know exactly what the state is going to require, but I would assume that they're going to be asking for, a list of some of the organizations that we currently work with, anyone that has said that they want to participate with us if we do get the SCN, going through the different services that our network provides. So really, we would be the ones tasked to make sure that all of the areas of the waiver are covered, but also making sure if there's any other organizations in general that need to be included into the network, then we'll be doing that. And then from the billing side of it, we'll also be responsible for making sure that everybody is getting paid and getting paid timely. If there are any issues with, I don't know, let's say an incorrect rate or something, it would be up to us to resolve that issue for everybody providing the services directly.
That's really where HVC has a lot of experience, because they're already doing it for the health homes. So they are, they have the infrastructure in place and have been doing it for years. So
Yes, we have the infrastructure, and we've also, we have really great relationships with the managed care organizations in the Hudson Valley. We have monthly meetings to go over any sort of billing issues, but then also to talk about different quality measures to show, that we're trying to continuously improve our services.
Hi, I don't know if you could hear me. This is Andre Thompson feeding Westchester. Sorry, I joined late. The question that I more or less had, so in the past, the 1115 waiver and district was rolled out in different ways. And I'm a little newer to the Westchester region, even though I've been a resident of the area for years. No, I was just curious as to what was the role in the previous rounds of the waiver and district for CBHS and Hudson Valley Care Coalition, if you were involved in any way in the past.
So the district was before my time at HVC, but I do know that health homes were not included in those conversations. I know the focus was really at the hospital and the primary care level. And that was something that health homes have been advocating on, and making sure that, anytime there were discussions about a new waiver, that health homes and also just social determinants of health were included in those conversations as well.
Yeah, thank you. And you'll probably get to this. The only other question that I had is the platform that you probably will be using, and we probably didn't get to this point yet, but the interoperability with existing services. Let's say we're using Alco, or let's say we're using some other system, if that's part of the discussion yet.
So platform, yes, we actually, thank you for reminding me, because we don't have a slide on that, but platform, we have had numerous conversations with Unite Us. Unite Us has also positioned themselves very close to DOH. They've been having a lot of conversations. I think they're really trying to make Unite Us look enticing for New York State as a whole for the SDNs to get on board. Just curious, is anybody familiar with Unite Us?
The United Ways are through our 211 program. We don't use it, but we are familiar with them.
Okay. So for those that aren't are fully familiar with Unite Us, it's a referral platform essentially, and they're also trying to build out a billing piece of it. But what their platform allows is, let's say for example, HVC, we have a contract with Unite Us. We'll give them a list of all the community-based organizations that are part of our network. And those community-based organizations get access to this platform for free through HVC. So we are the ones that have to pay, but the providers wouldn't have to pay for it, the community-based organizations. So essentially, let's say there's an individual that needs help with housing. Somebody would be able to go into the Unite Us platform, send a referral to organization ABC, and then they would also be able to track the status of that referral. Now, on the other end, organization ABC will be able to go in the system and see, oh, we got a referral for this person. They get to see what their needs are, where the referral came from, and they're able to change the progress if they've reached out to the individual. So it allows for referrals to be sent and received. And it also kind of streamlines that process of, you don't have a staff member that's calling the organization, a couple times a week to see, have you received this referral? Can I get the status of it? So it really does take out a lot of the headache when it comes to tracking referrals, as well as they are building out the capability to drop claims, which will be extremely important once the waiver is approved, because we would need a platform that would be able to do both. Does anyone have any other questions about Unite Us? Okay, I think that concludes the presentation part. What we were doing in the past was we were putting up some discussion questions, but it is a lot of information. Most of the time, everyone was saying, we kind of need time to kind of think about everything that was shared before we can really think about, what our top concerns are. So these are just some questions that we can think about for the future. Obviously, interest and participation, we're willing to work with any organization that feels that they would like their organization to be part of this SCN. And moving forward, definitely having conversations about what priorities are within Westchester, the Putnam area, and then also individually within, housing, nutrition, case management, transportation, what those needs and priorities are at that level as well. And it was a lot of information that we shared. Does anyone have any questions? Need anything to be clarified? I will send the slides out to everybody. Again, I know it's a lot of information to kind of get at once.
Well, we really want to thank everyone for joining us today. It has, I as Brianna said, there's a lot here. So what we would encourage you to do is take a look at the information. Do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions, big or small. Reach out to us. as we receive updated information, our goal is to keep everyone informed of the process. I think we have a few more individual meetings, right, to go. And then we will finish this part of our journey. And we will develop next steps. So again, thank you. If you have any questions, anything comes up, feel free to reach out to us, use us as a resource.
Nicole, Brianna, the only question I have is, I'm assuming you have everyone's contact information through the calendar invitation, but would it be helpful? Do you want us to put our contacts in the chat? Do you want to put your contacts in the chat? Just always want to make sure that people are able to continue to connect.
Yes, I could definitely put my contact, and if everybody could also put yours, just in case for whatever reason it's not on the calendar invite. I do want to make sure that we send the slides out to everyone and any updates that we have.
Thanks, Tom, for bringing that up. That's a good point.
Yes, thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll be sending those slides out. And again, as Nicole said, if you have any questions,